Contortionistic Jazz Exotica.
One take, one take, one take, one take.
Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our discussions of the episodes that can be found in this landmark, famous series, which is right here, which is called Twin Peaks. And as some of you may know, it has been my great pleasure and privilege and honor to be able to speak about this series one episode at a time over the course of these videos. And now we find ourselves with a discussion regarding episode 28. So a lot has been going on up to this episode, and indeed a lot is happening within this episode. So if it's okay with you, let us focus our attention today on the events leading up to and including episode 28. Maybe we won't focus so much on what lies beyond or after this episode, although we might maybe make some hints or clues or suggestions as to possibilities of maybe, what if, yes, no, maybe so. But in any event, let us primarily focus on the events leading up to and including this great episode 28. So there's a lot going on here, as is the case with every other episode, and this is no exception to that. And also, my dear friends, of course, I don't hold myself out to be in any way an expert when it comes to Twin Peaks. Not at all. I am far from being an expert, so I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. However, I am coming at this as a fan of the show, as a big fan, having seen it many times and on many formats. And I have no doubt in my mind that I will continue to revisit this show for many years to come. So with that approach, or with that stated, let me now go right into this episode 28. And my goodness, what do we have? So we have already the further, say, rehabilitation, in a manner of speaking, character rehabilitation of Leo Johnson. I said before in a previous episode discussion that there was a moment in a previous episode where Leo had the little controller, and he thought that by pressing the button he would attack or injure Windom Earle, but he didn't realize until it was too late that he was in fact sending an electric shock through his body via the necklace or the charge. And so it was a moment where I said that I think Leo became very sympathetic in my eyes. And indeed, that feeling of sympathy really continues in this episode, because we see that he goes out of his way to try to free Major Briggs, who is in captivity at the start of this, and he reaches out for the in order to be able to unlock the clasps. And so Major Briggs, in a type of drug-induced stupor, in a manner of speaking, still is able to be free while Windom Earle is out. And then a little bit later, Windom Earle returns to see Major Briggs gone, and to see Leo Johnson still there. All right, save Shelley. So this is his hope and wish to Major Briggs as he frees him, but he's unable to free himself as Windom Earle returns, noticing, of course, Major Briggs is now gone, and then having this reveal of a type of makeup on his face, or is it makeup? It's not clear. And then the blacked out teeth as well of Windom in a very ghoulish image, and some kind of package or bag or something that is maybe in store for Leo, not in a very pleasant way. And indeed, later on, we will see the contraption that Leo Johnson is left in, with the string and in his mouth, and it's linked to a contraption with the cage and the what lies in store inside the cage. It's a kind of a very it's a very gruesome and quite it's a how should I put it? It's a very sort of sad situation that Leo Johnson finds himself in, with this cage filled with like spiders or tarantulas. So here we have Leo Johnson again in a type of character rehabilitation moment, seemingly also in a state of looking in a very sympathetic way not only does he free Major Briggs, not only is he caught in this really terrible situation, which might lead to his death, I'm not sure. But also he is still having Shelley on his mind, and the idea of save Shelley, save Shelley. So here we have again almost a complete 180 from where Leo Johnson was at the start of the show, which is a very interesting way to develop the character of Leo Johnson. But speaking of Leo Johnson, of course, we also have the continuing character arc and the plots and subplots involving Wyndham Earle. And of course, he is still listening in with the conversations through the bonsai plant that is in the sheriff's station. And so here he's able to listen in, for instance, on the discussion between Cooper and Truman about what Cooper saw at the point of Josie's death. Remember, Josie died in sort of mysterious circumstances, and he didn't tell this to Truman until just now because of his mental state, according to Cooper. But yes, when she died, Cooper saw a vision of Bob. And so perhaps, and the idea too, that Josie seemed to be overcome with a sense of fear. And so he posits, or he hypothesizes that maybe Bob has something to do with the Black Lodge. Maybe the Black Lodge has something to do with some kind of evil spirit or the source of evil in the woods. And maybe fear or some kind of feeling of fear might have something to do with creating a bridge or link or doorway between, say, this world and whatever world we are talking about when you're talking about the Black Lodge or the source of evil, or where Bob is or comes from, or whatever the case may be. So upon listening to this conversation, of course, in the cabin, Wyndham Earle has a eureka moment, and he realizes that the key to unlocking, to entering the Black Lodge is through fear. And so this is becoming the crux of the matter, and Wyndham Earle realizes this final key for him. And as he's excited, he also mentioned that he hasn't been excited since he stabbed Caroline and punctured her aorta, in his words. Very gruesome detail, and sort of a confirmation of what he did to Caroline and the past of Cooper and the reasons behind Cooper's guilt. And then also he has a devilish glee when he says goodbye to Leo, and he says that he grew to be fond of him and become attached to him, but now it's time to go. And this is the reveal of Leo holding on seemingly for dear life to this string that's attached to this cage filled with spiders or tarantulas. It's a almost certain death. That's the implication. So what's going to happen to Leo? We are not sure, so we're going to have to find out if indeed there is a resolution to that story, but we'll have to wait and see. So Cooper then understands, going back to the authority side or the investigation side, that the whole thing, and this is from previous episodes as well, the whole thing about the chess and Caroline and seemingly targeting Cooper was just a ruse. It was just a type of a smoke screen for what seems to be, and Dale Cooper realizes this, what seems to be Wyndham Earle's true motivation with this is to find the Black Lodge. And we understand, of course, that he's been focused on the Black Lodge since the 1960s, since his associations with Project Blue Book. And so Cooper is now convinced that this is his true motivation. And indeed, we as viewers know, or we have a strong suspicion that Cooper is indeed right. With all this talk about the Black Lodge, with all this talk about the petroglyph in Owl Cave, and Wyndham Earle discovering that is indeed a map to the Black Lodge. So he has not only the location, the coordinates seemingly, but also the key. And also Dale Cooper surmises that the Miss Twin Peaks contest and the idea of what the Owl Cave petroglyphs might seem to indicate to him in terms of the timing and some kind of key of some sort, and also the notion that the Twin Peaks contest, the Miss Twin Peaks contest, is indeed a very dangerous situation for the winner. And so the idea too is, and this is becoming clear later, that the winner of the Miss Twin Peaks contest, which will happen later on in this episode, will need so much protection because again it's becoming part of the overall say inquiry and overall plot of Wyndham Earl. And again, we knew this, or we got a sense of this ever since those past episodes when we began to get wind of this idea of the Queen and the King and Miss Twin Peaks. And so again, we shall see what this has in store for Dale Cooper, indeed the people that he cares about the most, as we get to the final climax of this really exciting episode. Now, speaking of the investigation side, also remember Major Briggs has been released, but he's in sort of this drug-induced stupor, and then he is able to find his way back. But again, there are these clues and hints, and again, from Major Briggs's clues and hints, Dale Cooper is able to put together the pieces in terms of Wyndham Earl's true plot and motivations, including the Miss Twin Peaks connections. So we have the return, in a manner of speaking, of Major Briggs, although again, we shall have to wait and see what, if at all, will happen to Major Briggs in any subsequent episodes. But here we have his sort of return to sort of the civilized life, as it were, of Twin Peaks. Although there needs to be some recovery to be had. Now, there is also Andy. We must say that we must celebrate Andy here because he is very intently looking at this petroglyph, this owl cave painting copy, trying to figure out maybe something is bothering him about it, something is perplexing him about it, we're not sure, but we see a lot of Andy looking at this thing. Also, he seems to want to tell Cooper and Sheriff Truman something that he has discovered or he has thought of. But again, bless him, bless his heart, bless Andy. He seems to be also doing the right things at the right time. An example of this is when he knocks over the plant, the bonsai tree. And of course, Sheriff Truman, understanding that this was from Josie, is shown to be somewhat disappointed at first. But then they are able to discover that indeed this is a hidden microphone that has picked up all the conversation. And so they now realize that Wyndham Earl has been ahead of them the entire way. And so now the urgency, the stakes the stakes are heightened even further going forward. And so I think for everyone concerned, their main mission now is to protect the winner of the Miss Twin Peaks contest at all costs. So it's a kind of, again, life and death stakes all around. Now, what we have in terms of the other characters, we have more or less a trajectory towards this ultimate climax that is Miss Twin Peaks contest. So, for example, we have some moments in the diner. We understand that Norma was Miss Twin Peaks several years back, and so now she is a judge, but she's also maybe coaching or encouraging Annie and Shelley, who are also going to be contestants there, and they're also in the diner scene as well. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, we have the scene with Ben Horne and Audrey Horne. Audrey Horne wearing the red dress by the fireside, maybe having feelings about Jack, already missing Jack, and sort of the weight and pain of love, and Ben Horne giving her that advice, that sagely advice about how, in essence, time healing all wounds, while he is gathering all these worldly texts of religious significance and also sort of heightened philosophy, the great texts of human civilization. And also he encourages his daughter to make a speech at the Miss Twin Peaks contest. And so there's a lot to be said about the character of Audrey, and there's a lot to be said about this relationship between father and daughter, Ben Horne and Audrey Horne. It has been a really interesting, almost roller coaster ride of a relationship, a progression from the very start of the series with the pilot and then the first episodes in season 1 and leading to this moment. It seems like many lifetimes, in a manner of speaking, have been lived between this pair, father and daughter, and now here they are having a real heart-to-heart, in a manner of speaking. So very interesting stuff indeed. Now, there's some other characters too, in terms of parentage, in terms of secrets. And this is, of course, my reference to Donna and the Hayward family. So Donna is also seemingly participating, and so she's seen in a very formal dress, getting ready to go, but she confronts her parents about what is going on between Eileen and Ben Horn. And Doc Hayward and Eileen are not having it. They won't budge. And so Donna is very upset by this and sort of highly confrontational. And so she threatens that if they won't tell her what is going on, then she will go to Ben Horn directly and ask Ben Horn what's going on. And so this upsets them, but Donna sort of leaves in a fit, in a type of fit of anger and also resistance. And so that leaves the parents there alone, not quite sure what's going to happen going. Of course, speaking of Donna and Ben Horn, this episode is very significant too, because at long last we get the truth from, well, at least as described by Ben Horn. So we'll have to see, of course, how this is going to be carried through to its ultimate resolution, which we might see later. But it seems that, yes, our suspicions, and maybe Donna's suspicions, and indeed everyone's suspicions, are confirmed, which is that Ben Horn is Donna's father. Wow. So what's gonna happen with her family, with his family, with their relationship? How is she going to react to Eileen and Doc Hayward? What's going on here? Oh my goodness. The chaos is just overflowing at this moment, is it not? Now, also in terms of relationships and in terms of breakups and also tensions as well as reconfirmations, there's also the plot line involving Ed and Norma, and Mike and Nadine, and Dr. Jacoby. And Dr. Jacoby says it might be easier to express one's feelings with other people around, which is a very interesting theory, by the way. But it does lead to the conversation about the divorce. No, not divorce, I should say, but breakup. Right, that's the whole point, because it's to feed into this. I don't want to say illusion. I don't want to say fantasy, but it's to feed into the mindset, shall we say, of Nadine, who still thinks that she is a high school student in love with Mike, talking about his buns, and then also Norma and Ed, and the idea of they want to get together. And this has an interesting effect, of course, on Nadine. Nadine seems to be outwardly okay with that, but then she also seems to maybe have a feeling of jealousy or frustration at this, because she says, well, of course, we have similar plans, Mike and I. And as she says this, she's almost gonna tear Mike's arm off or something. But in any event, it's a very interesting situation indeed, in terms of Nadine and Mike, and Ed and Norma. So it looks like something is going to happen with that. But again, we shall have to wait and see what goes on in terms of the Mike, Nadine, Ed, and Norma plot line, with Dr. Jacoby there as well, guiding everyone along the way. So again, very interesting. Indeed, too, we also have Nadine also involved in the Miss Twin Peaks context, so she's going to be there as well. Also, we have, of course, the continuing saga, yes, of Dick Tremaine and Lucy and Andy. And here, later on in the episode, we understand that the final choice of Lucy as to who is going to be the father of her unborn child, regardless of the biological connections, and she makes the choice in front of them that it's going to be Andy, Deputy Andy Brennan. So he's so happy. Of course, now Dick Tremaine is he's kind of cordial, but you can tell that he has other concerns on his mind, and so he says thank you, congratulations, and then he goes off. And so this, to the great annoyance of Lucy. So she's very annoyed at this because he doesn't seem to be that affected by being essentially rejected by her. So it's almost like he is already over her before she was able to reject him. So she is feeling, of course, a little bit frustrated by that. But this means that, at least as for now, we understand that her choice is Andy. And so this may mean some kind of family connection between them, and of course the unborn child. Right, so again, that's a very interesting almost conclusion or resolution to this plot line that's occurred since since many an episode back. So well done, Lucy. Well done, Andy. And speaking of Dick Tremaine, of course, we have to remember he is one of the judges at the Twin Peaks contest. And while earlier in the episode, while Tim Pinkle, who seems to be a man of many talents, including being able to create choreography for the Miss Twin Peaks contest, it's very interesting choreography at that. But during the rehearsal, in terms of the dance numbers, we have Lana, who is intent on winning Miss Twin Peaks contest. And so she is able to, through a certain, arrangements, shall we say, with the aid or assistance or suggestions of Dwayne Milford, she's able to be alone with Dick Tremaine. And of course, the assumption is that she will unleash her sexual energy in a way that will hopefully convince Dick Tremaine to vote in a way in favor of Lana, so that she will ultimately win the Miss Twin Peaks contest. So a lot is at stake here, and so maybe there's a lot to be realized and confronted and resolved when we get to the actual Miss Twin Peaks contest, which is again the climax of this episode. Now, before we get to that, there should be a discussion of one more point, which is Catherine, Pete, and Andrew Packard with this silver cube, or this steel-looking cube that was contained in one of the boxes that was also itself contained in the larger black box that was given to Catherine by Jones, the executive assistant of Thomas Eckert, some episodes back. And so it's been a type of obsession of Catherine, and therefore by extension Pete and also Andrew. What's in the box? And so what has been in the box is a box within a box within a box. And now we have this final cube. So in frustration, of course, Andrew pulls out his gun and he shoots at it, and lo and behold, his gunfire reveals what is inside, which is some kind of key. It looks like a key to a safe deposit box or something. And so what does Catherine do? Of course, there is no suspicion between brother and sister here, but perhaps there is actually. And so they don't seem to trust each other. And so maybe it's some kind of payment, maybe it's some kind of key that unlocks riches of some sort, who knows? But they're not going to let it out of each other's sight. So what does Catherine propose? Putting it in the empty, clear cake plate dome. So it's a very interesting, again, this is interesting to the empty cake plate. It's again, absence and presence. It's almost like the absence of the cake is the very essence of the existence at this particular moment of Catherine and Andrew, and of course by extension Pete. And so absence, positivity, positive and negative, absence and presence, and it's almost like the donut hole that has been the very center of Twin Peaks. The absence presence of someone like Laura Palmer, for instance. So again, what does this key hold? What's going to happen to the key? What's going to happen to this relationship between Catherine and Andrew? So a lot to wonder about, and again, we'll have to wait and see beyond this episode, perhaps, because we're not going to get our answers this episode, as we know, because other events in this episode seem to take precedence. So. And what are those episodes? What are those events? And of course, I'm referring to. Oh, actually, before I get to that climax, I should mention too that we also have developments regarding Dale Cooper and Annie. So first, we have a scene in the middle of this episode with Dale speaking to Diane in his room, and also speaking of certain things in particular. Also talking about Annie, and also Annie comes to the hotel room and talking with the idea about the Miss Twin Peaks contest and speech and trees. And then they have a very tender and intimate moment, and they express to each other, or Dale expresses to her, that he wants to be intimate with her, and she seems to reciprocate such feelings. And so they share in each other's company in a very intimate way, shall we say, in this particular moment. So here we have a type of this kind of very personal and very emotional moment between Annie and then between Dale Cooper, as a type of again, a continuation of their romance, their love their courtship and their emotional bond and connection, which makes the stakes at the Miss Twin Peaks contest very high indeed for everyone concerned, because Annie is also a participant, a contestant. And so when we get to this climax, this climax of the Miss Twin Peaks contest is very much like, say, the episode 1 events involving One-Eyed Jacks and the mill and the like, and the mill burning down and everything. So a lot seems to be converging at one point. And here with the Miss Twin Peaks contest, I think a similar thing is happening. Everything seems to be converging at once here. So we have Bobby seeing what he thinks is Margaret the log lady, but we realize that it's actually Windom Earle in disguise, and he knocks him out. And so again, we know that Windom Earle is a master of disguises, including being able to disguise himself as the log lady. So that's one thing. So that's how he is able to infiltrate without any suspicion, except for Bobby, of course, infiltrate the Miss Twin Peaks location to cause the havoc that is about to happen. And then, of course, we have some examples of the performances and the acts. So we have Lucy, who is showing her dance skills. She is a really great dancer. And so, she's an expecting mother too. So, considering her physical condition in terms of being an expecting mother, she is showing off her skills as a dancer very effectively and with a lot of physical prowess, including also high kicks and also a split, and so showing also her flexibility. So very impressive indeed. Also, we have a performance by Lana, and I love Doc Hayward's introduction of Lana's performance, Contortionistic Jazz Exotica. So we have, again, Lana showing her sexual energy in a way that seems to be very persuasive to a number of the people of the audience, such as Hawk, etc. So there's that. And then there are also the speeches that we hear. For instance, Audrey, and also we have to remember too, Audrey in some earlier past episodes, she was making reference to civil disobedience. And so there is a hint or suggestion or nuance maybe of civil disobedience and also a type of society responsibility. So let's keep this in mind, civil disobedience in Audrey. It might or might not have some significance in a later episode. But we also have the speech by Annie, Annie Blackburn. And this is very important too, because who is declared the winner of Miss Twin Peaks contest? None other than Annie Blackburn. So this is, of course, very exciting news for Annie, but it's also very shocking news for Dale Cooper, because as we know, and as he knows, whoever is crowned Miss Twin Peaks is potentially in a lot of danger because of the plot and motivations of Windom Earle, who's still out and about and very, very dangerous. So as this is happening here, the celebration of Miss Twin Peaks, what happens? The lights go out. Everything is darkness, and then the flash, the strobe light effect happens, and the smoke and the chaos occurs, and people are just screaming, and it's all chaos indeed. And a lot of things happen in terms of what happens to Nadine, what happens to Doc Hayward, what happens to Sheriff Truman trying to calm everyone down, but it's not doing any good. The chaos is there. And what do we see too? We see Windom Earle and Annie. And in the chaos, she is taken away, and of course, Dale Cooper tries to intervene, but he is not able to in time. So this is a very, very big deal, very shocking deal, and it's again the whole house of cards, in a manner of speaking, seems to be tumbling, and it is a ball of maelstrom of chaos that has been caused by Windom Earle, seemingly for some kind of objective involving the Queen and fear, and now Annie, and maybe the road to the Black Lodge. And speaking of the road to the Black Lodge, my dear friends, remember this petroglyph, this owl cave painting that has been nagging at Andy for some reason. But now, amongst all this chaos, and now with moments to go before the end of the episode, Andy is able at last to reveal to Cooper what it is that he has discovered about this owl cave painting, that it is indeed a map. It is a map. So good on Andy, right? Andy has shown his prowess as a law officer. He's had his ups and downs. He's had his downs, of course, but he has certainly had has his ups as well. And ranked among those up moments must be those moments here in this episode. He knocked the plant over, which revealed the microphone. He's also showing his great skills as an artist, which he showed in prior episodes, which we talked about earlier. And now he is able to put together the clues to reveal to everyone that he has cracked it. And indeed, it is a map. Windom Earle already figured this out episode or so back, but now Andy has. And so they're almost there, just within arm's reach, perhaps, of Windom Earle and his destination, which we understand with all the information we've had up to now, leading to the Black Lodge. So, my dear friends, this is jam-packed, as I say. A lot is happening. And in terms of this season 2, we have, by my count, one more episode to go in this season. So let us talk about that episode in the next video. I look forward to it very much. Very, very much indeed. But until then, my friends, let us stop here. And until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great movies and TV shows like this show, which is Twin Peaks. So until the next one, my dear friends, thank you and cheers.